Hi, I'm Ellen. Welcome back to my channel. Earlier today I went on a little excursion with a friend, socially distant of course, but we took some Instagram photos, and so I thought today I would show you how I edit my Instagram photos. I'll be showing you some of the apps I like to use to edit, as well as how I plan out my feed a little bit before posting, just to make sure everything looks nice together. Let's get into it. Okay, so I'll go into my Photos app. You can see all of the photos from today. Here are some I took of my friend Ruby, very cute. But we're gonna go through the ones of me. There is, of course, going to be some that are a little more awkward, where I was just getting myself adjusted or different things like that. So I go through the photos and I favorite ones that I like. So I think this one's cute, I'll heart it, and then honestly these two are pretty similar. I just like them both. It's always kind of awkward when there's like people in the background, but you know, when you go out in public, these things happen. Unfortunately, we can't inhabit the world by ourselves. We took some with apple cider donuts too, which is very good. See, some of these I just don't know if I would want for Instagram, but they're cute in general, and others are not as cute. So now that I've gone through and liked all of the photos that I want to edit, I will go to VSCO, which is the app that I mainly use. Now VSCO is available for free on the App Store, but I do pay for the $20 per year annual subscription fee to get VSCO Premium, which unlocks all of their filters as well as a couple of other editing tools that I do use pretty regularly. So here I will now go over to favorites, and I'll add in all of those photos that I want to edit. And I will start over here. So the first thing that I usually do is I'll go in and I'll crop all of the photos to the size that I would want. And for Instagram, I usually go for like a portrait rather than a landscape. And I think that the highest, or the ratio that makes the most sense for Instagram, is the 4:5. So I'll just show you that on here. Go into adjust and hit 4:5. And then I usually try and crop people out as best I can, but you know, we were really out here with the families, so. I also try and think about how it's gonna look as a square, because in your feed it shows up as a square. So even though I'm gonna post it as a portrait, it shows up differently, and I don't want Instagram to cut off my head in weird places. So just a consideration. The way I do my feed planning kind of helps figure out how it'll look in the square version as well. So, and then I'll just go through and do that for all of them. Sometimes if the picture doesn't look great in a 5:4, I'll edit it in the 9:16, which is the size for an Instagram story instead. And that way I'll have something that kind of goes with the picture I'm posting. One of the things that usually looks nice if you have this kind of size photo is to line up that top line with your eyes. I find that that usually ends up looking nice. Now that I have cropped all the photos, I'm gonna go back to the first one and try out a couple of different things. I have a set of favorite filters that I usually go through and check and see if I like how it looks with. I usually will pull them down, but it's a good kind of first look. So A6, O4, C3, E3, E6, HB1, and SS1 are the ones that I have saved, but they have a ton of other filters as well. I just find that it's usually nice to use the same set of filters, especially if you want to keep your feed looking semi-cohesive. So the one I think looks nicest with this is E3, and then I usually pull it down a little bit, so I'm going to bring it to a 7.5. you can see the difference with it off and then with it on. And that just sets a nice like baseline edit, and then I'll go into the other things that you can change within the photo to get a little bit more specific to how I like it. So I'm gonna bump the exposure a bit. And lately I've also been liking adding a little bit extra contrast. For one, because I have black hair, I feel like it looks nice when I do that a little bit more. It makes my hair look its actual color a little more. Sometimes I'll add saturation. A lot of times I'll play with the temperature. So if you want to make it warmer or cooler, obviously fall time is more of a warm vibe, so I up that a little bit. And then sometimes I'll add a different like pink or green. I feel like this is actually pretty balanced already, so I'm gonna leave it how it is. And then this is a pretty good general photo, but sometimes I'll end up playing with HSL, which is hue, saturation, and lightness, and that is something that you can change for each color. That's one of those premium things that I'm paying $20 for the year to have, and for me it's pretty worth it because sometimes in photos it's just like really weirdly lit, and that helps kind of allow you to fix it after the photo's been taken. So if I was going to, I could like bump the orange to get the pumpkins to pop a little bit more, but that also does affect the skin tone, and so I don't usually do orange too much unless like I'm looking really orange, and then I'll pull it down. So I think I'm just gonna leave everything at 0 because I like generally how I look. And this one is a pretty easy edit, but I'm gonna show you the other thing that I'll do. So the first photo is the one that I've edited, and then there's a bunch of others that I haven't. So what you can do is out in the studio, you click on more and you can copy the edits from that photo. Then you're gonna go and select all the other photos and you can paste the edits onto it so that you can kind of see that baseline edit. You can go in and tweak a little bit more if need be. But I feel like that is a nice way to edit a bunch of photos quickly, and it also helps so that you can kind of see which ones you like best once they are edited. Yeah, so I feel like that is my general way that I edit. And I am going to show you a couple of other settings that I have on my VSCO for some other types of photos, just so you can get an idea for it, and if you want to kind of try out my editing changes on your own photos as well. So let's see, we'll do this photo is on my Instagram, and to show you what's on here, I'll do this. So I'm gonna go and do a little run through of this photo. First of all, this is how the photo looked before I did any editing at all. It is clearly very backlit, which is rough, and I still struggle with how to edit that sometimes. But here is how I ended up editing it, and I feel like it looks pretty nice. So I added A2 at an 8, exposure up 0.5, contrast up 0.5. I made it slightly warmer and also tinted it towards the pink side because it was a very green photo. And then I did a bunch of stuff in HSL as well, so you can see some of the tinting of the leaves. And then of course cropping. Okay. Here is another one of my recent Instagram photos. So this is what it looked like before I edited, and this is what it looks like after. Not a huge change, but I did do C3 on this one, exposure up, temperature up a little bit, as well as the tint. And then I also did some saturation on this. Usually the photo is more than half the battle, and then the editing is just little additions to make it look a little bit nicer. Depending on the quality of the photo, sometimes I'll add grain. So if it's already slightly blurry, I like to add grain on top of it so it looks more purposeful. But otherwise, my editing is all pretty much the same when it comes to this. I'm gonna grab one of these newer photos and then take it to FaceTune, which is where I do a little bit more editing sometimes, and I will show you what I do there. So I saved it to my camera roll, and then I go into FaceTune. I have FaceTune 1 and not FaceTune 2. FaceTune 2 I think is a subscription model, which I didn't really want to deal with. So instead I paid $6 flat for the FaceTune 1 app, and it has all of the features that I would want and more, really, because I'm not like changing the shape of my body anyways. So you go in here and you open a photo. So here is the new photo I'm going to do. And here, mainly what I'll do is I'll whiten my teeth a little bit, and then if I have any really obvious blemishes that I think are detracting from the photo a lot, I will also do a patch on it. So if you zoom in, honestly, it doesn't look that bad. So I'm going to whiten my teeth, which you just kind of swipe over it. You have to be careful because you can overdo it and then it looks awkward with the edit. So it's like, that's probably even a little too aggressive because it just looks out of place. So I'm gonna take it off and go again, but not as much. So then it's not as aggressive, but still a little bit whiter. And then I don't have a ton of blemishes. There is a little zit on my nose, so you would go over to patch and then you just tap on it and it would adjust. Sometimes it's better than others. Honestly, the tip of the nose is not the best place to be doing this because it's obviously a different shape than the rest of me, but that's how that would look. Honestly, not terrible. I'll leave it. And then there's a little one here. So it'll kind of make a guess at what the adjustment should be, but you can move it around as well. And there we go. Sometimes I'll also flip an image on its y-axis if that's gonna look better within my feed. So if I'm like leaning one way in a bunch of my photos and I'm like, well, I can't do another one of those, I will flip it, and I can do that in FaceTune. So you'll go to Canvas and then you do this flip button and it changes your orientation. So that's the other thing that I would do. Okay, so my last step before I go over to Instagram is that I go back to the Photos app, and I have, here is my newest photo. I click the share button and I add it to an album that I have named Insta. And then I go over to that album and I move it into the right position. So that way I can see how it would look in the feed. So here you can see how I was talking about how I kind of lean in the same direction for all my photos. I would probably pick a different one because it's basically the same position as my last photo. But after I like how it looks in my feed using this kind of adding to my album method, then I will take it over to Instagram, add any tags and locations and my caption, and then I will upload it and we are good to go. I'm gonna give you a little looky-loo at my Instagram. So here it is, it's at the LNG, and I haven't been super active on it recently. I've been kind of trying to limit myself a little bit, and you know, in Corona times, we're not doing as much as we maybe were before. So here's some of my pictures, and yeah. Give me a follow if you like. Sometimes I post on my stories and get some of that vlog type content if I haven't been vlogging on my YouTube channel. So yes, I hope you enjoyed watching me edit my Instagram photos and that it helped you maybe up your Instagram game. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.